Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue. I'm the black powder editor for Guns of the Old West magazine, and I write for Combat Handguns. And I got caught kind of by surprise last week when my managing editor, who's also named Mike, got a hold of me and asked me to do an article for Combat Handguns on building a Flintlock pistol kit. And at first I thought maybe he had the wrong magazine in mind, but he was serious. Then I got a little bit paranoid and I wondered, what does he know about new gun laws that I don't know? Because if flintlocks are going to become the state of the art for combat handguns, we all have problems, right? But he convinced me that he was serious, that they really wanted an article on that. And at that point I was skeptical because, as some of you know, I've been building a flintlock rifle from a kit for about the last 7 or 8 months, and I've got 12 video updates on YouTube on it, and I'm probably not even halfway done with it yet. So I told him I just didn't think that I could build a pistol in one article and do it justice. But he said, go research it and find a kit that's easy but high quality that anybody can build at any skill level. He said, and if you can't find that, fine, we'll drop it. But if you can, let's do the article. So I went out looking, and I got a hold of my friends at Dixie Gun Works and talked it over with Lee Fry. And Dixie has this Pedersoli Kentucky pistol flintlock kit. And what you see is basically the way the kit comes. So anybody can put this together, and it's not that complex. Now, one thing about it is it doesn't come with any directions, and I'll be talking about that more in a minute. So hopefully if you do it, maybe these videos and the article will help you out. But this is mostly shaping the wood, and you're not going to need any special tools besides rasps and files, screwdrivers, and the things that you already have around the house, and then sandpaper, of course, and finish. So let's get started, and we're going to build a Pedersoli Flintlock Kentucky pistol kit from Dixie Gun Works. Well, this is how the Pedersoli Kentucky Flintlock pistol kit comes. Basically, the pistol is all together. You get a bag of spare parts, which actually are spare parts in case you wreck something, which is great. And you get a parts list and a set of sights. One thing you will not get are directions, because long history with the Italian firearms manufacturers have taught me that the only thing that they consider more superfluous than directions are traffic signals. So you're on your own, but luckily this is pretty easy to figure out. You're going to immediately notice that there's too much wood left on the stock, which is for you to work with. But you should also notice that the cast brass nose cap also is too thick. And if you let it stay that way, it's going to dictate the way the rest of the pistol looks. So the first thing I do is thin that out. So as you just saw, this muzzle cap is way too thick. It's also shaped wrong. And the shape of this muzzle cap is basically going to go back and determine the shape of the wooden stock. So the first thing I want to do is get this thing thinned out and shaped right. And what I did, you can see I've got a line scribed right along the stock that continues out to the muzzle cap. That's on both sides. And what I do is the same thing that I would do on a rifle. What I want to do is have 1/3 of my stock above this line and 2/3 below the line. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape this part over this way, and then this part is going to be shaped this way. So it's going to be kind of egg-shaped, with this smaller on top but having a bit more angle to the curvature going in. And that'll give me kind of a line. It won't show up as a line, but the dividing line between shaping it this way and shaping it this way will actually give you an optic that draws your eye down along the stock. So I want to have the same shape in this muzzle cap. So I'm going to shape this part up and get rid of the shelf. And this will basically be shaped down. And the shape on the bottom is probably going to stay pretty much the same. I'm mostly going to be working up on it. So I've got that on both sides. And I'm going to disassemble the gun and start working on that. Well, the first order of business is to shape this end cap. As you can see, I hope you can see, it's a little bit backwards here. We've got our line on here, and this is very, very thick. Now what I did is I've just taken this piece of wood and drilled a hole so I could put this end cap on it. This is a little bit different than, say, most Kentucky rifles or Kentucky pistols, because the barrel is not held on with underbarrel lugs or tenons and pins. Instead, it's held on by this screw that goes up through the end cap and screws into the barrel, and then by the tang bolt that comes down. So we don't want to mess that up, but we got to reshape it. So let's chalk up the file, and we're just going to start taking this off. Of course, I've got this attached to this stick as a fixture so I can get it into the vise. And I'm gonna take this down and thin this up and kind of shape it around from this line, because that's the line that we drew on our stock earlier, and we know that's the way we want this whole thing to go. Well, if you can see now, I'm trying to get some light on here so you can see the difference between this side and how thick that is, where we have not done anything, and this side and what that looks like, how thinned and rounded out that is. So we're going to make both these sides look like this, but you can see we've taken this down a lot over here. After the nose cap is shaped, we've got to clean up the ramrod thimbles, which at this point are just really rough brass castings. So first order of business is to file out these rough brass castings. And we got to get all of the casting pits off before we can start putting a polish on this. After going over it with 600 grit sandpaper, the last step I do is to buff it with some 4.0 steel wool, and that puts a good enough final polish on it for what I've got to do next. So after a couple of hours of work, we've gone from this condition to this condition, and now it's time to do this one. I'm just giving a little final buffing with 4.0 steel wool to the entry thimble, which is done about as well as I'm going to get it. And we'll take a little look at that. So we've got quite a difference from the way this started, and I'm ready to start working with it. Well, with the brass polished up, in the next update, we'll take a look at how to shape the stock.